When Mitch McConnell made a bold move to cancel and impeach President Trump, he never expected Vice President JD Vance to strike back. But what followed shocked the entire country. In a fiery live broadcast, Vance didn't just defend Trump, he revealed McConnell's most guarded political secret. The revelation left Washington shaken. That Friday afternoon was supposed to be calm. Congress was easing into the August break, with most lawmakers planning vacations or town hall visits. But behind the scenes, something far more serious was happening. McConnell, a senator who had held power for more than 50 years, had launched a stunning plan. Teaming up with Senate Majority Leader John Thune, his longtime protege, he pushed through an emergency measure that stretched the Senate recess, blocking over 100 of Trump's key nominations. This wasn't routine politics, it was open war. Behind closed doors, they were quietly plotting an impeachment move, aiming to force Trump to resign by paralyzing his entire administration. The timing seemed perfect, the media distracted by summer news. But they hadn't counted on someone paying attention, someone ready to act. Vice President JD Vance had stayed silent for months. Today was different as news of the betrayal spread. He stood in the shadows of the West Wing, eyes blazing, jaw tight. "Enough is enough," he muttered. By 7 p.m., the White House press room was packed. Reporters buzzed with questions. They didn't know why they'd been called, only that Vance would speak. Some guessed Ukraine, others immigration. But when he stepped in, calm fury radiating from him, the room went quiet. "No teleprompters tonight," he said. "I'm speaking directly to you and to every American watching. Tonight, I must expose something dangerous, something shameful, something that should never have come from our own party." Gasps rippled through the crowd. "I've just received undeniable proof that Senator Mitch McConnell and Majority Leader John Thune are actively working against this administration," Vance declared. "Not for the country, not for principle, but for power and personal revenge." The reporters froze, cameras zoomed in. "This isn't just politics," Vance continued, his voice sharp. "This is a betrayal of the American people." He slammed a folder onto the podium. Inside this file are years of secrets McConnell hoped no one would ever see. The room buzzed with murmurs. Vance opened the folder slowly, eyes locked on the press. Years ago, when President Trump was first elected, McConnell made a private request money, a bribe in exchange for loyalty. Gasps filled the room. Trump refused. He said, "I don't buy people. I earn their respect." From that moment, McConnell made it his mission to destroy him. Vance held up a printed email, legally redacted but clearly showing the intent. McConnell hated Trump not for policy, not for principle, but because Trump rejected corruption. That same bitterness led him to push John Thune, a weak man, into Senate leadership to control the Senate and use it as a weapon against our president. He stared into the camera. "Mitch McConnell has been in. McConnell has held power longer than most of you have been alive, 50 years. And what has he done in all that time? Built walls of silence, greed, and secret deals," Vance said. The room went completely silent. Across the country, millions were moved to tears. The folder on the podium wasn't just a prop, it was packed with old memos, emails, and transcripts, hidden for years in committee records, shielded from the public. Holding up a faded printout, Vance continued. "In 2017, McConnell invited Trump to a private dinner. He offered a deal: help my allies get federal contracts, and I'll protect your agenda in the Senate. Trump refused, looking McConnell in the eye. "I'm not in this for deals. I'm here for the people." Since then, McConnell tried to block him, embarrass him, even now trying to end his presidency again. Cameras zoomed in, reporters scribbled furiously, some blinking back tears. "You don't betray a president for saying no to a bribe. You don't betray the people who elected him." But Mitch did both, Vance said. The room fell into stunned silence. "Now, let's talk about John Thune," he added. The room stirred. Most know him as Senate Majority Leader. But how did he get there? Not by merit. He rose through loyalty to McConnell. He's not a true leader. He's a puppet, Vance said, clicking a remote. Behind him, a screen lit up with a timeline showing McConnell's backroom deals, pressure on colleagues, and even leaked audio from a 2023 retreat. McConnell groomed Thune to take over Not for America, but so he could keep pulling the strings. And today, Thune's move to extend the Senate recess? That wasn't about rules, it was sabotage. Vance slammed his fist on the podium. They're trying to freeze over 100 of President Trump's nominations judges, cabinet members, military leaders. Why? So the government can't function. And it's not the Democrats doing this, it's our own party. Some reporters shook their heads in disbelief. Others quietly wept. Vance stared straight ahead. You don't stab your country to protect your ego. By now, the live broadcast was trending worldwide. Millions were watching. Social media feeds overflowed with clips of Vance exposing decades of corruption. Across the country, people reacted. In rural Ohio, a farmer wiped his eyes, whispering, "Finally, someone's saying the truth." In Phoenix, a retired veteran clenched his fists and muttered, "God bless you, Vance." But inside the press room, Vance wasn't finished. Mitch McConnell, he said, voice. Vance's voice grew cold and sharp. Mitch McConnell is 83 years old. He's been in this game for over 50 years, and what do we see? Broken promises, crumbling bridges, corruption. He pointed at the cameras. Let's be honest, he should have retired years ago. But he stayed, not to serve, but to feeding from taxpayers, lobbyists, even foreign interests. And now, at the end of his career, he's trying to tear down a president who has accomplished more in 6 months than McConnell did in 50 years. The room gasped. Vance's voice softened. Here's the difference. Trump fights for America. McConnell fights for himself. Across the nation, tears fell as Americans watched. This was no longer politics, it was personal. In his Senate office, McConnell sat stone-faced as calls poured in from donors, allies, even journalists. Demanding answers, John Thune rushed in, pale and panicked. "Sir, it's everywhere. Vance just exposed everything." McConnell waved him off. "Stay calm, he's bluffing. They'll forget in 2 days." But even he knew this wasn't a bluff. JD had proof, emails, dates, quotes outside. Protests were forming, signs waving in Alabama, Missouri, even deep blue New York. Americans were rallying behind Trump and behind Vance. Back in the White House, Vance turned to the camera. "Let me be clear, President Trump has achieved more in 6 months than most presidents do in 4 years. He's rebuilt factories, renegotiated trade deals, lowered inflation, and restored hope. Yet Mitch McConnell wants to erase it all while on vacation." Viewers weren't just listening, they were feeling it, and they weren't going to stay silent. Just when America thought the revelations were over, JD Vance dropped another bomb. For anyone thinking this was just a Republican feud, he said, "Think again." He held up a small envelope to the camera. Inside is a meeting transcript. Bernie Sanders and Mitch McConnell, March 2024, Capitol Hill, backroom. The press room gasped. Vance flipped the paper. Bernie had promised not to interfere in McConnell's internal party battle if McConnell blocked Trump from confirming conservative judges during this term. You heard that right. Bernie Sanders had aligned with McConnell to halt America's progress. He shook his head. What kind of system do we live in when the far left and old guard Republicans team just to take down a man trying to rebuild this country? Across the nation, people were stunned. In Michigan, an elderly woman whispered through tears, "They lied to us." All of them. Vance looked into the camera. Enough backroom deals, enough sabotage, enough of this swamp. We're cleaning house, and it starts tonight. Across the country, the dam broke. Thousands flooded the streets with flags, candles, and signs reading, "We stand with Trump and JD Vance." Airports, malls, and schools tuned in. Workers stopped, parents gathered their children. In Florida, a retired Navy veteran saluted his TV. In Ohio, a mother knelt beside her son, saying, "You see that man? That's courage." Social media erupted. Vance exposes McConnell, save our president, JD for the people. Inside the White House, JD's eyes welled, but he didn't stop. This isn't about politics anymore, he said softly. This is about the future, your families, your jobs, your schools, your country, Vance said, holding up another file. And here's what President Trump has accomplished in just 189 days. Stats flashed on the screen: new manufacturing jobs, housing for veterans, record border security, lower gas prices, revived farm subsidies. Real results, real numbers. While Mitch plays games, Vance said, Trump builds. Even the most skeptical viewers felt it. This wasn't just a speech, it was a movement. He paused. The silence was thick, almost tangible. Slowly, he unfolded a yellowed letter. This, he said, is a handwritten note from Mitch McConnell to a foreign lobbyist. March 2001. Cameras zoomed in it. McConnell promised to steer military contracts in exchange for campaign donations and hinted at manipulating Senate votes behind closed doors. Vance's hand trembled slightly, not from fear, but righteous anger. This isn't just old corruption, this is a pattern. The same man now trying to impeach President Trump sold pieces of America when no one was watching. He looked directly into the camera. Trump doesn't play these games, that's why they fear him. That's why they want him gone. Reporters gasped. One dropped her pen. Another whispered, oh my God. Vance continued, the difference is clear. Trump works for you. Mitch works for himself. Across the country, people watched, some weeping, some staring in disbelief. Some people shouted, others stood silently. The old power was crumbling, and the truth was finally being heard. JD paused for a moment and then unexpectedly choked, not from fear, not from pressure, but from grief. This isn't just about politics anymore, he said, wiping his eyes. This is about the America I grew up in and the one I don't recognize anymore. He took a deep breath. I come from a small town. My family didn't have much. We worked hard and believed in doing what's right, even when it's difficult. That's what Donald Trump believes too. His voice cracked again. But people like Mitch McConnell, they forgot us. They forgot you. They built a life of luxury while millions struggled. And now they're trying to burn down the only hope we have left because they can't control it. The room fell completely silent. JD looked into the camera, not as a politician, but as a father, a son, a citizen. I'm not here to protect power. I'm here to protect truth. And if I fall for that, so be it. But I will not stay silent while they destroy the man fighting for all of us. Across the country, viewers were sobbing. As the speech streamed nationwide, a storm was brewing in the Capitol. John Thune, McConnell's protege, stood in a hallway, pale as paper, cornered by three furious senators. You didn't tell us about any of this. One barked. You let McConnell hijack our party. Another snapped. You betrayed us. All, one senator whispered. Thune tried to respond, but it was too late. The tide had turned. Back on camera, JD Vance presented more evidence, documents showing McConnell funneled money through backdoor channels, leaked audio of him mocking Trump supporters as easy to control, and proof that Thune's rise was never earned, it was engineered. McConnell didn't just mentor Thune, Vance said, facing the camera, he manipulated him. And now Thune is following his godfather's orders, trying to destroy this presidency by blocking Senate confirmations during August. The betrayal was undeniable. The plot exposed, the puppeteer unmasked. Across cities and small towns, Americans weren't just angry, they were heartbroken. The real enemy wasn't across the aisle, it had been. Hiding behind a handshake, the speech ended. JD stepped away from the podium, hands trembling, heart pounding, feeling the weight of what he'd just revealed. Outside the White House, something extraordinary was happening. Crowds gathered by the hundreds, then thousands. Farmers, veterans, nurses, small business owners, they carried handwritten signs, "We believe in Trump, thank you, JD, enough is enough." Tears rolled down JD's face as he watched from the West Wing window. Secret Service agents stood beside him, stunned. Even they hadn't expected this reaction. On the White House lawn, a young girl held a sign. "JD, you gave." A young girl's voice cracked as she shouted toward the White House, "My daddy's hope, we love you." In that moment, JD realized this wasn't just about one man being president, it was about millions of forgotten people finally being heard. Behind the scenes, panic spread. McConnell's office lines jammed, senators demanded answers. GOP leaders scrambled to control the damage, but the people were no longer listening to them, they were listening to JD Vance. For the first time in a long time, they felt free. In a narrow, private hallway beneath the Capitol, JD walked in with two staffers to find McConnell waiting. Mitch's eyes were sunken not from age, but from fear. "You think that speech makes you a hero?" McConnell hissed. "No," JD said, staring him down, "but it told the truth." "You split this party in half," McConnell growled. "No, Mitch, you split it years ago when you chose greed over duty," JD replied. The old senator's hand trembled on his cane. "You're a child in this game." "I'm not playing games," JD continued sharply. "You tried to crush this presidency, used Thune as a pawn, and now the country knows." McConnell's face twitched. JD leaned closer. "You had 50 years to prove yourself. You chose lobbyists over the people, corruption over conscience. Now that people are waking up, you're terrified." The old man said nothing. JD whispered one last thing before leaving. "If you cared about America, you would have never tried to break it from within." He turned, coat swinging behind him, leaving the corridor forever changed. In Virginia, the Thompson family sat crowded on a worn couch. The father, a coal miner who had just lost his job. The mother, a nurse still battling long shifts. Their 10-year-old son watched JD's speech replayed on the TV, eyes wide. "He's telling the truth, isn't he, Daddy?" the boy asked softly. The father wiped his eyes and nodded. "That man, he's fighting for us." The mother squeezed her husband's hand. "I've never seen anyone speak like that, not in my lifetime." Across America, blue states, red states, rich, poor, the reaction was the same. Families wept, grandparents held hands. Single moms whispered prayers. This wasn't about politics anymore. It was about finally being heard. Online, donations to JD's legal defense fund surged past $1 million in an hour. Volunteer sign-ups flooded campaign pages. America hadn't just listened, it had felt, because JD spoke not as a politician, but as a man with nothing to gain and a future to save. Meanwhile, the Senate chamber was packed. Every seat filled. CSPAN's live stream broke records. The air buzzed with tension. Whispers flickered between senators like sparks before a fire. JD entered through the back door, no entourage, no notes, only resolve. McConnell sat hunched, pretending to read a folder. Thune stood behind him like a stiff shadow. JD stepped up to the microphone. "Mr. President, members of the Senate," he said, voice calm but commanding, "there comes a time when silence becomes betrayal. Today, I refuse to be silent." Some senators folded their arms, others leaned forward, anxious. "You all saw the broadcast, you heard the facts. But if you think I'm done, you're wrong," he continued. JD turned to McConnell. "I've just submitted a motion to open an internal ethics investigation into you, Senator McConnell. It includes signed affidavits, financial records, and communications showing a clear pattern of bribery and abuse of office over decades." Gas erupted across the chamber. McConnell didn't speak. He couldn't. The truth had finally arrived. Moments later, he was escorted out officially for a private discussion, but in his office, it was anything but private. Thune followed, visibly shaken. "You said they'd never find those documents," he snapped. "They weren't supposed to," McConnell whispered, face pale. "The records had been sealed in committee archives. You lied. You dragged me into this mess." "I trusted you," Thune shouted, for the first time in decades. McConnell looked small. Age had been masked by cunning, but now it showed. His hands trembled, his lips stayed tight. "I built this party," he murmured. "No," Thune said bitterly, "you poisoned it." Back in the chamber, JD sat silently at his desk. McConnell didn't speak or move, but he could feel the shift, not just in the room, but across the country. Emails, transcripts, and recorded calls had all been filed. With the ethics committee, the clock was ticking. JD wasn't seeking applause, he was working to save a presidency and a nation from betrayal within, and America was watching. That evening, JD held an unplanned press conference. No speech, no teleprompter, no briefing, just him standing before 100 flashing cameras. "I want to say this to every American watching at home tonight. You are not crazy. You are not forgotten. You are not alone," his voice cracked. "For years, people like Mitch McConnell made you feel like your voice didn't matter. They used power not to serve, but to silence. That ends now," JD said, pausing. "I may be the vice president, but tonight I speak as a husband, a father, and a son of working-class America." His eyes welled with tears. "I've seen people cry over grocery bills. I've watched factories close. I've seen soldiers return broken and be ignored. And still, men like McConnell sit on golden thrones of taxpayer money while blocking the one man trying to fix it." The room went completely silent. "Donald Trump is fighting for you, and I'm standing with him until the very end." Across America, people wept not from weakness, but because, for the first time in years, someone had spoken for them. By sunrise, the Senate was in chaos. JD's speech had been replayed on every major network. People weren't just watching, they were calling and emailing senators, camping outside offices. In Arizona, 70-year-old veteran Dale Miller called his congressman, tears in his voice. "I served in 2 wars, and I've never seen a leader speak like JD. Tell him thank you." Inside the Capitol, pressure exploded. Junior GOP senators held an emergency caucus. One by one, they stepped before cameras. "I can't defend McConnell anymore," said one. "This is bigger than party lines," said another. "I stand with President Trump and Vice President Vance," added a third. John Thune tried to rally support in private, but even his allies looked away. One whispered, "You rode Mitch's coattails, now you're sinking with him." The media swarmed, calling it an earthquake, an implosion. Through it all, JD remained silent, letting the truth speak for itself. In a single day, the unthinkable had happened. The McConnell machine was breaking, and America was finally waking up. JD Vance stood once more before the cameras, this time in the Rose Garden. The crowd outside had doubled, some had driven all night. Others had flown in from across the country. "I didn't plan this," he began. "I didn't want it to be this way." He paused and looked down at a photo in his hand. His grandfather, a coal miner. "My grandpa worked 16-hour shifts. He died with broken lungs and empty pockets." Politicians like Mitch McConnell used men like him, and when they were done, they were forgotten. His voice trembled. "That's who I fight for, not billionaires, not lobbyists, but families, the forgotten." He looked into the camera again. "They tried to cancel Trump because he fights for you. But I'm here to tell you they won't win, not this time." He then held up a large binder. "These are Trump's accomplishments from just the first 6 months of his second term. Over 3 million new jobs, a secure border, a healthcare plan that cuts costs for working families." He raised the binder high. "This is what they fear." In that moment, it became clear JD Vance wasn't defending Trump. He was defending the American people. Just as the energy settled, a new headline broke. A leaked recording revealed McConnell pressuring the DOJ to target Trump with false charges. The audio was chilling. McConnell's voice, calm and cold. "Use anything, tax records, business filings, whatever sticks. We just need to shut him down before midterms." The recording played across every TV in the country. Gasps, outrage, heartbreak, even longtime McConnell supporters felt betrayed. One Kentucky voter said, "I've voted for him since the 90s, I feel fooled." Inside the Capitol, McConnell finally emerged to give a statement. He didn't apologize, he didn't deny it, he said coldly, "This is politics." JD Vance responded within minutes, "No, this is a betrayal of the people, of the Constitution, of everything this country stands for." That night, as millions replayed JD Vance's broadcasts, a mother in Oklahoma wept. Her husband, a laid-off truck driver, placed a hand on her shoulder. "He's doing it, honey," he whispered. "JD's fighting back for all of us," she nodded through her tears. "I just hope it's not too late." But deep down, they knew America had crossed a line, and there was no turning back. Inside the White House, President Trump sat alone in the Oval Office. The television replayed JD's Rose Garden speech on loop. He didn't blink, he didn't move, he just listened. Then he rose slowly and looked out the window. The South Lawn was packed with supporters waving flags, holding signs, chanting, "We want truth. We want Vance." For a moment, Trump said nothing. Then, quietly, he whispered, "He did it." Chief of Staff Barron Trump entered. "Sir, calls are flooding in from governors, state reps, even former critics. They're rallying." Trump smiled faintly. "This isn't about me anymore." JD just cracked the system open. He picked up the phone and called JD directly. "You didn't just defend me," Trump said, voice thick. "You defended the soul of this country." Jade's voice wavered. "I just did what was right." Trump paused. "I couldn't have picked a better vice president." For the first time since the crisis began, the nation saw a rare sight, a tear rolling down his cheek. Later that night, a whistleblower released a tape to a major media outlet. The recording was old but clear. McConnell's voice speaking to high-dollar donors behind closed doors. "Trump's followers are emotional, loud, easy to distract. We'll ride their wave, then drown them in it." The leak spread like wildfire. Major outlets couldn't ignore it. Social media exploded. Within the hour, JD held a live briefing. He played the tape directly from his phone and stared into the cameras. "This is what they really think of you," he said. He held up a sheet of handwritten letters from truckers, teachers, single moms. "They laugh at you behind closed doors, then beg for your vote on TV. Not anymore." "That era ends now," a reporter asked. "Do you believe this is grounds for a criminal probe?" JD didn't hesitate. "Yes, and I've just submitted the request to the DOJ." McConnell watched from his darkened office, silent. He knew this wasn't politics anymore. This was judgment. As midnight approached, JD stepped onto the Truman balcony. Thousands still gathered below. Cameras rolled, lights lit the night sky. The crowd was quiet, waiting. He raised a small note card, then tucked it back in his pocket. "No speech tonight," he said. "I just want to talk to you." He looked down, voice shaking. "You deserve leaders who don't lie, who don't steal, who don't hide behind age or power. You deserve truth." He gestured to the White House. "This house doesn't belong to us. It belongs to you." A murmur of emotion rippled through the crowd. Jade's voice cracked. "My mother struggled, my father wasn't. I've buried friends to drugs, poverty, and despair." JD said, voice steady but heavy, "I've watched Washington ignore it all." Mitch McConnell looked the other way, enriched himself, and then tried to destroy the one man who finally fought for us. He looked up again, "But I promise you this, he won't win. Not while I breathe, not while we stand together." The crowd erupted, tears, cheers, chants of JD. JD, JD. Across America, hope was reborn. Morning broke over Washington, but JD Vance was already in motion. With the nation holding its breath, he made his way to the Capitol carrying a thick black folder. This wasn't rhetoric, this wasn't opinion. This was evidence, the final nail. At a hastily called emergency Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, JD laid the folder on the table. And here, he began calmly, are our banking records from an offshore account tied directly to a PAC under Mitch McConnell's control. Over the last decade, it has received more than $28 million from foreign defense contractors. Gasps filled the chamber. JD continued, these funds were traced to lobbyists who secured inflated federal contracts, many of which passed through the Appropriations Committee chaired by McConnell himself. JD opened the folder and held up a photocopy showing McConnell's signature and internal transfer memo. You want to talk about threats to democracy? He asked. This is what corruption looks like. Senators exchanged horrified glances. Reporters rushed out of the room, phones buzzed in panic. Somewhere in the shadows of the Capitol, Mitch McConnell realized it was checkmate. In a quiet hallway near the hearing room, McConnell leaned against the wall. His cane shook, sweat ran down his temples. Whispers that had once been filled with respect were now thick with fear and betrayal. John Toon approached, pale and tense. It's over, he said. They're turning on you. McConnell said nothing. His eyes were glassy, staring at nothing. Inside the chamber, JD Vance finished his statement. I didn't come here for vengeance, he said. I came to shine a light. Because this isn't just about Trump. It's about every American who believes their leaders should serve them, not sell them. He walked out to a thunderous wave of applause. Outside, thousands waited, holding signs, shedding tears. Filled with hope, some carried pictures of loved ones, veterans, teachers, factory workers, people who had lost faith in government. A single chant rose into the night. For us, for truth, for JD. JD stood still, overwhelmed but calm. He had exposed one of Washington's deepest roots of corruption, but he knew the final word had yet to be spoken. That night, JD returned to the White House. Alone in the dimly lit East Room, he stared out the tall windows. The country was watching, not for scandal, not for drama, but for direction. He opened a worn letter from an elderly widow in Georgia. I lost my. The letter trembled in JD's hands. I lost my husband to COVID, then I lost my house. But tonight, Mr. Vance, I found something again, hope because of you. He read it again, slowly folded it, absorbing every word. Baron Trump entered quietly. They want one final word from you tonight, the press, the people, everyone. JD stood, then they'll get it. 30 minutes later, he addressed the nation once more. This fight wasn't easy, and it isn't over, he said gently. But we've started something Washington hasn't seen in decades, accountability. He stared into the camera, voice firm. Trump fights for the forgotten. I'll keep fighting with him for every miner, nurse, single mom, and soldier who's ever been ignored. He paused, and to those who tried to break this country from within, your time is up. The screen faded to black. Across the nation, hope surged back to life. At exactly 9 a.m., the Senate floor opened for a historic session. The chamber was filled with tense, trembling silence. Every senator had received a classified memo, JD Vance's final report on Mitch McConnell, detailing names, accounts, direct transactions, and a timeline spanning over 50 years. Senator Hawley stood first. Madam Chair, I move to open formal censure proceedings against Senator McConnell for abuse of power, obstruction of constitutional governance. Then another stood, and another. Even senators who had once worked under McConnell's shadow now spoke with fear and fury in their eyes. McConnell arrived moments later. His posture was frail, his skin pale. He moved slowly to his seat and said nothing. The chair read JD's statement into the record. This is not revenge. It is a reckoning not just for the man, but for the system that shielded him for decades while everyday Americans paid the price. The gavel slammed. The nation had never seen anything like it. JD didn't attend the session he didn't need. 2, his words had already done the work. Back in Ohio, JD received a package from a local mailman, hand-delivered with no return address. Inside was a single envelope. He opened it slowly. JD, I don't know you, but I need you to know this. My son passed away 2 years ago. He believed in this country, but he died thinking no one in power ever would. Tonight, after your broadcast, I sat at his grave and told him, son, someone finally stood up for you. Thank you. JD folded the letter and closed his eyes. In that moment, He wasn't a vice president. He wasn't a politician. He was a boy from Middletown who had once been forgotten too. Later that night, he went live one final time from the White House. "I didn't do this alone," he said. "I carried the voices of millions, the hurt, the ignored, the betrayed." He held up the father's letter. "This is who I work for." Across the country, people wept for truth, for healing, for a second chance at a nation that could be whole again. A full day had passed since JD's final statement. Churches held prayer vigils, schools held assemblies. Small towns organized parades not for politicians, but for hope, for victory, yes, but more than that, for hope. President Trump returned to the podium for the first time since the storm began. Standing beside JD Vance, he smiled, not the smile of someone who simply won, but of someone who endured. 6 months ago, Trump began, they said we couldn't do it, that the old system was too strong, but today, we proved something greater. Truth still wins. He turned to JD, "You didn't just defend me, you defended America." And history will remember that. JD Vance stepped forward one last time. To everyone watching, rich or poor, red or blue, young or old, this is your country. Never let anyone tell you it's too late to take it back. As the music swelled and the screen began to fade, thousands in the crowd joined hands. For the first time in years, the people felt seen, heard, and free. If this story moved you, don't just scroll by. Leave a comment, hit subscribe so you never miss a moment of truth, and like the video to show you stand with JD and President Trump. Join our channel membership to unlock exclusive behind-the-scenes content and live streams. Together, we can rebuild this nation.